Hello, Mr. Claudia here, and today I'm going to talk to you about spreadsheets. This is the Intro to Spreadsheets activity. Spreadsheets are really powerful, and you'll definitely use them, especially in your upper years of high school, but also beyond high school too. So this is kind of a crash course in how they work and should give you enough information to get started on the assignments you have to do. Just to explain what we're looking at, this is a spreadsheet. Now I'm using Microsoft Excel, but you could just as easily use Google Sheets, which is a free app, and there are other spreadsheet applications out there as well. Spreadsheet is divided up into this grid. We have columns, and each of the columns has a letter, and then we have rows, and each of the rows has a number. So each cell has a unique kind of identifier. This cell, for example, is B4. We call all those little boxes cells. Now you can type into them, things into them, like for example, I can type Mr. Claudia. And I could organize this and type all the different teachers' names in the school into different rows. But what's going to be more powerful is using numbers. So for example, if I type the number 12 here and the number 15 here, I can organize some data, but I can also do math with those cells. For example, in this cell, D4, I could type the equals button, and the equals tells the spreadsheet, look, you're going to have to do some math now. And I can say equals and then click on the 12, so that cell, and type multiply by this cell. So now look at the formula that's appeared in my cell D4. The formula says take whatever's in cell B4 and multiply it by whatever's in cell C4. So I get 12 times 15, I press enter, 180. So the math is being done by the spreadsheet. And what's cool is if I change this number, say, oh, it wasn't 12, I was supposed to use 8. If I type in 8 and press enter, well, the spreadsheet updates that calculation, right? It's not multiplying 12. It's been instructed to multiply whatever's in B4 multiplied by C4. So there's almost like a little bit of programming here. The spreadsheet does some automation to make your life easier. Anyways, let's use this spreadsheet to do some math and some calculations. So my first example, my first activity, averaging marks. So James has recorded his marks over 4 years of high school. So in grade 9, 10, 11, 12, and there are his marks in a whole bunch of subjects that he took every year. What is his average in each grade? Okay, so grade 9, here are all his marks. I want to find out the average. Now, the old-fashioned way of doing this would be to take your calculator to add 78 plus 71 plus 85, 93, 65, 92, and divide by 6. But you have a spreadsheet now, so you can do that yourself. Or you can do it get the spreadsheet to do the work for you. So I'm going to type equals, and then click on this B2, then press plus B3 plus B4 plus B5 plus B6 plus B7. Press enter. So remember, equals is the key. You have to type equals. That's telling the spreadsheet you're going to do some math. That gives me a total of 484. Now, we know I have to divide by 6, right? There was 6. So I'm going to press equals. I'm going to click on that 484 and divide it by 6. And there's its average, 80.81 basically. Now, that's pretty quick. There's actually an even quicker way of doing this. Instead of adding up all the numbers using pluses like that, I can use a built-in function in Excel. And this is where there's so many functions. We're only going to scratch the surface of how powerful this is. But for grade 10, I'm going to press equals. Instead of typing, adding them all up individually, I'm going to type equals and then write sum. You can see that Excel says, okay, which of these fancy functions do you want to use? Well, I just want to use sum. And actually, it's telling me sum adds all the numbers in a range of cells. Remember, cells are what these boxes are called. So I'm going to open bracket, and now I'm going to click and drag and select all those numbers. So look at the programming we've told the spreadsheet. It's going to find the sum of all the numbers from C2, and there's a colon, to C7. So that's telling me a range of cells. C2 is the first one, C7 is the bottom one. I actually like the graphic, right? It's really showing me, look, everything that's in this blue box, I'm going to find the sum of. Close bracket, enter. And there, it just added up all the numbers. Now, once again, I press equals. I'm going to use the arrow key this time, click up, select the cell above with the total and divide by 6. Oops. And there's his average in grade 10. Oof, James, not so great in grade 10. Your marks went down. Now, there's even an easier way to find the average here. You don't even need to use the sum information or the sum formula. You can actually press equals. There's a built-in average formula. You just type equals average. And look, Excel says that's just going to return the average, or what we call the arithmetic mean, of the arguments. So I'm going to open bracket now. And it's going to say, okay, select all the numbers. So you could just select this number, press comma, select this number, press comma. I can select every one of those 6 numbers individually. I can click on them individually and separate them with commas. You can see it shows you, there's visually, you can get a sense of what you're doing. You're using the average of the blue, the red, the purple, the green, the brown. You can see them all kind of represented there. Close brackets, and there's his average in grade 11. He's back up. He's got an 81.5. An equally easy way to find the average is just to type equals average, open bracket, and then I would just, because they're all next to each other, click with my mouse and drag to select all of the range of cells I want to find the average of. Look at how this one, it says average E2 colon E7. That means I'm finding the average of all the numbers in that range from column or cell E2 to E7. Press enter, and there's his average, grade 12. Nice job, James, you did it. Now, to find the average in each course, well, that means I'm going to look at math over the years. What's his average? Well, this is easy now. We figured it out. I press equals average, open bracket, and select all of my 4 numbers. Close the bracket, and there it's going to find his average in math over the years, 80. Now, watch how spreadsheets can be super powerful. For English, instead of typing all that out again, I'm just going to go up and I'm going to copy this formula down and put it in this next row, this next cell. So I'm going to press Control C to copy it. I'm going to select here below, and I'm going to press Control V to paste it. I think you can also right click and just go paste. So all of a sudden, wow, I've got 74.5. Let me just click on that cell. So now the cell, or this cell says average B3 to E3. So it's, oh, and look, if I select it, it actually shows me what it averaged. The spreadsheet makes your life easier, and it's pretty smart. What it did is it said, okay, if this formula is on line, row 2, then if you copy it to row 3, I'm going to assume that instead of talking about adding all the numbers on the second row, you're talking about averaging all the numbers on row 3. Similarly, if I were to copy this and paste it down into all of these rows, it's going to calculate the average for each of these rows. You can double check, right? Let's try this one. See how it knew to average those numbers. You see he did very well in phys ed over the years. Finally, calculate his average while in school. Well, to do that, I'm just going to take the average of every number in my spreadsheet. So I'm going to write average, and then I'm just going to select them all, B2 to E7, and his overall average was 80.9. Way to go, James. So you get an idea of how numbers, when they're organized, you can then do incredible things really quickly using the spreadsheet. Let's move on to activity number 2. Activity number 2 is a bank account. This is another great use of a spreadsheet. So this is Steph's bank account beginning of April. She had $525.30. Wow, good savings, Steph. Then she makes some transactions. So on April 3rd, she has lunch. Lunch at Regino's costs her $4.80. So she's going to write $4.80 in her balance book here. Now, what's her balance in the account at the end after this transaction? Well, she had $525. You subtract $4.80. Now, $4.80, you could get your calculator and do it, or we can do it with the spreadsheet. I'm going to actually use the spreadsheet to do it. So I'm going to type equals. I'm going to take this amount that I had before, $525, and I'm going to subtract that lunch. So now she has $520 in her bank account. Okay, let's keep going. What's next? On April 6th, she wrote a check. to Jesse to pay her friend Jesse back was $45. You know what? Let's put everything in. What was after April 6th? April 11th, she buys a bus ticket. That was $19.50. Oh, then on April 14th, good news for our friend Steph. She actually gets paid. So we're not talking about money coming out of her account. We're not talking about withdrawal. We're talking about deposit. She gets paid $125. Nice job. And then, April 23rd, she takes money out of her account for a field trip. So we'll just call it ATM transaction. And it was $40 cash. Okay, so let's update her balance after each of these transactions. Now, technically what's happening is each time you write a new line, you're taking out an amount or you're adding an amount. So watch what you can actually do with your spreadsheet. This formula, so this first one, April 3rd, I'm going to take E2, which is my balance just before. I'm going to subtract whatever is in this box and add whatever is in this box. Now, there's nothing in this box. This lunch was a withdrawal. So basically what's happening is I'm taking 525, subtracting 480, adding 0, and so I'm getting 520. But now, watch what's really neat. If I copy this formula down below 1, now what it does in the next, it takes all the numbers and it advances everything. It says, okay, if you were on row 3 in this case, now you're in row 4. And you can see if I click on it, I can see all the colors. So I'm taking E3, my previous balance, subtracting 45, adding 0. And that gives me, she has 475 in her bank account. In fact, I can copy this and paste it in every row, and you'll see it updates appropriately. Look at what happens here, the day that she gets paid. Oh, this is her pay, I forgot. Payday. You can see that it takes the blue, the previous, 456. She didn't withdraw anything, but she added 125. So it's minus 0 plus 125, and that gives her, I accidentally altered my formula by clicking somewhere else. To get out of this, I'll just press the escape key, and then I'm back to normal. So I had 456, she got paid, and then she spent some more money. So you can see how the mundaneness of adding things up, you have one formula, you copy and paste it, and then you can actually keep track of your whole life spending with a spreadsheet. Activity 3. Arun is helping the Executive Student Council sell spiritware. This is where they sell clothes with kind of the school logo. So they get a hoodie for $40. So he sells things, sells a hoodie for $40, sweatpants for $32, baseball cap for $15, socks for $7. Now, the store that makes the spiritware, this is how much they charge him. So he makes some profit, different amount of profit on each item. So first up, let's calculate how much money he makes each week. So right now I know how much of each item he sells, but I don't know, so you have to think he sells 6 hoodies. Well, they're they're $40 each. So I need to take 6 and multiply by 40. I need to take 2 and multiply by 32. 10 baseball caps, $15 each, socks are 7. So I have to kind of do some calculations first. So what I can actually do here, there's a few different ways of doing this. Why don't I... what's the next question? I'll show you a skill. So let's start by, I'm going to insert, you could just make a new table. I'm going to just use my existing table, and I'm going to insert, what am I doing here? Uh-oh. No, I always do it a different way. So I'm going to insert, this is in the home page, insert a column. So this is the week 1 sales. And this is going to be my week 1 profit. So if you imagine, okay, he had 6, or sorry, not week 1 profit, week 1 cash. He had 6 hoodies, so he's going to take, I'm going to write equals whatever that 6 is, and then multiply by the cost per hoodie. Well, we know hoodies are $40. That's how much he charges. Similarly, I'm going to write equals. Click that B3, so 2 sweatpants multiplied by $32 each. Equals whatever that is times 15. And socks are $7, so equals that times 7. Now, that's how much money he collected in week 1. I want to find out the total, so I'm going to find the sum. Again, I just select all of those. And there we go. He made $538, or he ended up with $538 cash in the first week. Careful with all that money around. Now, I'm going to do that for the other weeks. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to need to insert a column. What I tend to do is I just right-click and go Insert entire column. So this is his week 2 sales. This is his week 2 cash. Oops. Now, in this case, like, instead of like doing it all over again, it's a lot easier. Why don't I type these in and then I can use them over and over again? So I'm going to insert, to insert a column, I press Alt-IC. That's my shortcut in spreadsheet land. I used to use spreadsheets a lot. So this is the sale price. So the hoodies we know were 40, the sweatpants were 32, the baseball cap was 15, the socks were 7. So actually, for this week 2 cash, instead of like typing in 40 each time, I'm going to press, equals, so it was the number of sales, 15, times the hoodies, the price for hoodies. Does it make sense? 15 times 40, there, it worked out. I actually don't like that this is all bold too. I find this confusing, so I'm going to unbold it. Actually don't like how any of this is. Let me get rid of, why don't we make all the borders look like that? Just a little bit better now. Okay. So there's this, let's do it this way. Okay, so there's the sale price. So he made $600. Okay, so now for sweatpants, he would take equals the number of sweatpants, 7, times the sweatpants price. Here I have the number of baseball caps times the baseball caps price. And here I have the number of socks times the number of the sock price. It's good, right? If the hoodies goes up, he can type in 45, and now it's gonna update the spreadsheet. Undo that. Okay, let's do that for week 3. So I'm gonna insert a column, and I have to do one of the same things for column 4. So this is week 3 sales. This is week 3 cash. Week 4 sales. Week 4 cash. Now you may be thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to copy and paste these, this calculation over like I did on my my first activity. The thing is, when you do this, whoa, the numbers are crazy. So I'm going to say, okay, escape. What happened when I copied that? And it's like, oh my. So it's supposed to take the hoodies and multiply it by the number of sales. Why did it did the right thing for sales, but it didn't do the right thing for hoodies. It like jumped and moved, and I'm multiplying the wrong number. The problem is that this spreadsheet multiplied, this cell multiplied the previous cell by the cell that was 1, 2, 3, 4 back. When you copy this cell over here, it's going to do the same. It's going to multiply the previous cell by the cell 1, 2, 3, 4 back. So to fix this, you can either redo these, so you can do it, you can do it by hand. You can say, okay, this is going to be the number of sales times the sale price. Or, and this is getting kind of advanced now, if you want Excel to freeze to never change the cell when you copy the formula, you could put a $ before the thing you want to freeze. So for example, in this formula from week 2, I'm multiplying the sales by the sale price. Now the sale price, I always want to use that column. I want to freeze that column. So I always want to use the B column. So I'm going to put a $. Now when I copy this and I paste it into these, now everything's the same, but you can see that the $sign is now in all of these formulas. Now when I copy these to my next to week 3, look at how the formula has changed now. I took 35, so that was the previous column, but it's multiplied by $B2. The B does not change. It's always going to use the B column. Similarly, I can copy those to week 4. Now, if I want to find how much money he collects each week, I have to use the sum formula. Again, probably easier just to copy the sum. There we go. I have his amount of money he collects each week. Now, the next thing, how much profit does he make in his 4 weeks of sale? Oof, profit. Well, I mean, technically, that's how much cash he makes, but then you have to subtract the amount he spends to buy the stuff from that amount. So there's actually like an extra step here. I mean, what I could do is insert a column, Alt-IC, or right-click and go insert column. Let's find the week 1 costs, right, from paying for the thing. So he sold 6 shirts in the first week, but he had to spend $22 on each of them. He sold 2 sweatpants, but he had to pay $18. 10 baseball caps, but they were $12 each. And the socks were $2, so he sold 12 of them. He had to spend $2 to get them. So actually his total costs, if I add them up using the sum formula, are $312. You get a sense that his week 1 profit is this number, how much money he collected, minus this number. So he made $226 in week 1. Now we have to do the same thing here in for week 2, week 3, week 4. It's getting a little confusing now. You can make your spreadsheet a little bit more organized. Like I can do this, select this, merge these, call this all week 1. I'm going to do, this is going to be sales, cash, and costs. Now week 2, what I need to add another column. Week 3, I need to add another column. And then add another column here. So this is going to be merged. So this is week 2. Oops. This is week 3. And this is week 4. Just to make a little, I don't like, it's hard to read a spreadsheet, so I try to make it a bit more organized. These are my sales. There we go. Does that look a little bit better? I hope so. Okay, now similarly here, I need to find the cost for week 2. So I'd have to take the amount of sales I made and multiply by the cost for each of the items. But again, it's probably easier if I type that information once. So let me put like the cost per item. So for hoodies, it was 22, 18, 12, 2. So now for the cost week 2, I would take the number of sales, multiply by the cost per item. So there, does that make sense? 22 times 15, yeah, 330. Now I could copy that down. What I'm going to do is I want to keep the cost amount fixed. So that's column C. So I'm going to put a $sign in front of the C. Do not put it in front of the 3. I'll show you what happens if you put it in front of the 3. If I copy this and paste it here, you'll see if you put the $sign in front of the 3, it actually always uses not only frozen column C, but also froze cell 3. So it's always using the number 22, which is not correct. For baseball caps, I want to be using C5. So that's why when you do this $sign, make sure you're careful. You want to freeze column C, not the number. So if I do this and I paste it, let's check if it worked. So it took my sales multiplied by my cost. Perfect. Now I find the sum. and then I subtract my cash, subtract my costs, and there I get my week 2 amount. Can do the same thing here. Actually, I think I can now copy this because I have a formula. There we go. So I can find out his total profit is the sum of the profit from each week. So I'm going to add all those numbers up. There we go. Wow, great job, everyone. Look at that profit he made. Oh, he learns that he was supposed to charge HST. He has to pay 13% tax of his sales to the main office. How much tax does he have to pay? Oh, shoot. He needed to pay HST. That was, sorry, 13% of his sales. So I actually need to take this number that is his total sales, and I have to figure out his tax on that. So why don't we insert a column, so I can, or insert a row. Insert, this is where it's going to get a little wacky. So let's write his tax here. So he has to take whatever cash he has and multiply it by 13%. So that's how much tax he has to pay to the that's how much tax he has to pay to the office every week. So if I add that all up, there's his total tax. So technically his profit's gone down then, right? Because technically his profit was the total cash he had minus the cost, but then he also had to pay this tax. So I'm going to subtract the tax as well. So now his profit's gone down to 156. I'm going to copy that formula because the relationship between the cells is always the same. I'm going to copy that formula. So you can see because of tax, he had to pay a whole bunch of tax to the office, and his profit has gone down substantially. But he was able to make that change easily. He didn't have to redo all his calculations. He just had to make minor changes to his spreadsheet. Similarly, for example, if he went back and he was like, oh, shoot, the socks were actually $9, he just needs to type a 9 here, and it's going to update everything in the spreadsheet. Now I'm going to undo that by pressing Control-Z. But there you have it. That's kind of, look at how amazingly powerful spreadsheets are, and they can organize confusing numbers in a nice way and do a lot of calculations quickly for you. So hopefully you're able to use spreadsheets to do whatever assignment or project or sort of record keeping you need to do in the future. Good luck with that, and we'll see you next time.